Hello, my name is printf, and this is another one of my cannon rush tutorial videos. Today I will just be going over additional tips and tricks that I didn't get to in my previous tips and tricks video. And these are just more tools that are always nice to have at your disposal. And I hope that some of these are useful for you. So when cannon rushing, speed and swiftness are of the utmost importance. If you can do the cannon rush 3 seconds faster, then that means you have 3 seconds longer before the spine crawlers and zerglings finish. This is quite helpful and can make the difference between winning or losing the game. But you are limited in your speed by the amount of minerals that you have. You can't actually build a pylon if you don't have enough money to build a pylon, and there's no way to get those minerals more quickly. However, you can still allow your cannon rush to start a little bit earlier by building both of these pylons when you have 200 minerals, and then leaving a probe on hold position in this little gap. This will buy you time to get the minerals that you need. While your probe is sitting here buying time, you are mining minerals back home, and then when you get the money required, you build the pylon. This bought you a lot of time. If you had to wait until you had all the minerals required, this cannon would only be at maybe 50 life right now, instead of 100. When aggressively cannon rushing a Zerg, creep is one of your biggest threats. If he has a lot of creep, his units can attack you more quickly, they are more difficult to kite around, like speaking specifically of roaches. Queens can actually now engage in combat because they're really slow off creep, so they need creep to do that. Spines as well. Spines can now be brought into battle, and those are pretty strong. So you want to clear creep as much as possible. That gives you a lot more room to attack, and also it allows you to build more cannons. My response to roaches is to just get a lot of cannons. Right now there isn't actually much room to do that. So you'll note right now that there is a creep tumor causing this little bulge in the creep right here, but it's not actually visible because the cannon is too far away. However, you can reliably kill a creep tumor by placing a cannon directly next to the creep. It has to be directly next to the creep though, because it has the same vision range as the creep tumor has creep spread. If you can do that, you can shut down that creep tumor and give yourself a lot more breathing room. Always target a creep tumor when possible, and always be willing to invest the money into a cannon to shut down that creep tumor. Assuming, of course, no extenuating circumstances. It's not better to invest in a cannon than to research warp gate, for example. When attempting to defend their natural, or even prevent you from getting high ground, a lot of Zerg players will build spine crawlers, because they're very good and fight fire with fire, you know, all that kind of idea. So spine crawlers are really good, but they have one core weakness. Spine crawlers take 50 seconds to build, whereas a cannon only takes 45. This gives you 5 seconds of time in which you can shoot the spine crawler, even if you start the cannon a little bit later. And now you're quite far ahead. One of the biggest dangers when cannon rushing a Zerg, or really any race, but specifically Zerg, it happens very often, is having your building placement blocked. That prevents you from correctly walling in your cannon and makes everything vulnerable, just kind of makes the entire maneuver go to hell. So you run in, you place your pylon, you're feeling fancy, you run into space, and suddenly a drone comes out of nowheres and sits here and blocks you. You want to build that pylon, but your guy tells you can't. So now you need to deal with that drone, right? If it's on stop command, you can attack it and it'll run away. That's the easiest. Not particularly common though, because most people are smart enough to put it on patrol or hold position. But if you start attacking it, a lot of people will be like, no, my drone, must save it, and tell it to attack move back. Now you can run away, it'll follow you, and you plop down the pylons, and you're good to go. Of course, some people will actually be intelligent and leave it there, or be paying attention and move it back, or whatever. But this will work a surprising amount of the time. So in my mechanics, tips, and tricks video, I mentioned how to deal with a proxy hatch. You build a cannon here and a cannon here. However, I left out an important detail, which is when to build them. The hatchery, when it reaches 1000 life, will finish just a little bit before your cannons, if you build them when it is at 1000 life. So watch, alright, and then you build your cannons, and you wait. And about 1 second after the hatchery finishes, your cannons will finish. This means that if the Zerg cancels, you can cancel as well. So let's pretend that this is a 4-player map. You can spawn here, 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 or here. And we don't know where he spawns. We know we want to cannon rush him, but we don't know where he is. So we send out a scout on 9 and a scout on 12, so that way we can get the information in time. But a 9 scout is quite suspicious. If you see your opponent 9 scouting, you're going to assume that they're doing something cheesy. And we don't want that. So we want to hide our scout. And now against Zerg, this is quite easy. We run up, we see creep, we turn around. We know they're there, that's fine, we'll sit back, we'll wait. And then we'll go in at a proper time. Against the other races, however, this is a little bit more difficult, because base structure actually has more vision range than a probe. So you can't really hide against that, unless you get clever with it. What you do is you queue up a few move commands, you move past it, and then you move right back here. If there is a base there, your probe will have to path around it, and he will not follow the line. This means that there is something there, even if we can't see it. And as you can see now that we can see it, it makes a lot more sense. However, it will path around even if you can't see it. So this allows you to not reveal your probe to a nexus or a command center if you do not want to. It can also allow you to save a little bit of time on the scout by not having to go quite as far into the base. But the more important value is that you don't reveal the probe. So an astute onlooker will notice that a 12 scout is a little bit earlier than standard, but it won't really be suspicious. Noticing a second probe, however, is quite suspicious. Nobody scouts with 2 probes. That means, obviously, a cannon rush. So you want to hide your second probe. It's not too big a deal if they see your first one. The overlord will spot that, and that's fine. But your second probe you're going to want to hide, because that is a dead giveaway as to what you're doing. The overlord will not notice this probe, and he won't think anything particularly special about this first probe that's coming into his base. So now you spot the hatch first, you run in, you show your probe, you're scouting, whoop-de-doo, he's not suspicious, you run back, and then you unleash havoc on him. Doesn't particularly matter the particular cannon rush location I'm using right now. This isn't actually what I generally use on this map, but I've mentioned before that I will not be revealing the locations I use on present maps, so that's nothing suspicious. And because he didn't notice the second probe, he isn't looking around his base and he isn't being paranoid about it. Some people, of course, will be paranoid about one probe, but it doesn't really hurt you to hide the second one, and it will help a lot in a lot of circumstances. Here his overlord will see that forward, he should be paranoid around now. He comes looking for it. Doesn't really matter though, because our cannon is done. And now we're in a great spot. And now we're really far ahead. So similarly versus Protoss, it is not especially standard to send out 2 scouts. So you will want to hide your second scout if he is scouting himself, which we now see that he is. So we tell our probe to take a bit of a detour, and this way it isn't suspicious. Our probe gets to his base, plops down a pylon, moves back a little bit so that it has a bit more of a standard scout path. They go into his base. He's not suspicious because he didn't see our second probe. We move back now that we've scouted him, and by the time he actually gets to our base, which is now, it's a little bit too late. And now we're safe. If he had seen the second probe, he would have undoubtedly pulled probes, and we would have had much more difficulty getting this up. As is, we're in great shape, and that's GG. So I hope that at least one of these tips will bring you success in your endeavors, and that you will be able to utilize these to improve your cannon rushing game on the ladder or in tournaments, whatever. So good luck and have fun.